Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 36 of the Titanforge podcast. Got it right this time. My name is Dratnos, and I'm joined by Trial.
What up?
And Tettles.
What up?
What up? We're back to normal. We're back to normal this week. After a busy few weeks, Tettles and myself are back from Dallas, and Trell has stayed there. And we are...
That's true.
We're done with the race to world first.
Yeah, we left Trell in Dallas.
Yeah, yes, we did. We
Just
forgot him
left me
there.
on the side of the road at the airport. They're like, see ya.
True. So how's it been for you the past couple of weeks, Trell? You know, how are you doing since we haven't really had a normal show in almost a month now?
It's okay. I haven't streamed very much, but just getting used to the patch and kind of enjoying DPSing lately a little more than tanking.
Yeah.
Streaming.
I don't know. No, I don't think people really want to see me DPS poorly and learn, so.
Side note, my viewership during the Race to World First was abysmal, and since it is concluded, significantly better. Dratnos, have you felt the
weird.
same?
Yeah, the race to world first is a good time to be streaming the race to world first and not anything else. That's the move when that's going on. Yeah, I don't know. Tanking is hard this patch. Corruption effects feel like they trigger a lot more if you're tanking than if you're not tanking, so it's kind of hard to have a huge amount of fun on a lot of the tank specs, because you're kind of, like, if you're playing a warrior or a monk, you kind of are always just fearing for your life if a thing from beyond ever connects with you or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just the RNG does not feel good. You get like 4 times the amount of thing from beyond spawns as a tank. You get screwed by the slow and the eyeball. You get like Venn diagrams of eyeballs on you all the time. It's just like the RNG of whether or not you get a thing from beyond proc while you get a damage increase debuff from any of the number of mobs in these dungeons that do that, and then it one-shots you is pretty bad. I just don't enjoy it.
Your tweet is like, you're not being serious in that tweet that you sent out, right?
What about corruption procs?
About corruption on tanks and Mythic Plus.
I'm serious, yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that. I feel like the thing from beyond is actually very well designed.
Yeah, but it procs way more often for
inside
tanks.
Of you?
Yeah.
Yeah, but like, it punishes you by getting hit by it. It's like the best version of a kiss curse effects. Like, you don't go over 40 corruption if you can't deal with it.
Yes, I think it's a really good system if there's counterplay, and the fact that it spawns like at a regular amount for DPS players in Mythic Plus, I think is really good, because they have stuff they can use for each time it spawns most of the time. Like for tanking, I'll Sputterflake the first one that spawns. 5 seconds later, another spawns. I'll use my legendary cloak, and then like 2 seconds later, sometimes I get a third thing from beyond, and I have nothing. And if it's a boss fight that I have to stand still, what are you supposed to do?
Maybe there should be an ICD. I don't know. At the end of the day, though, I think the slow is what I really hate. I think the eyeball and the thing from beyond are actually very well designed, though.
I also mentioned nerf the slow a little bit. I think that's really bad.
The slow increases you quickly.
Yeah, the fact that it ramps up to like 90% so soon it does feel rough. It actually doesn't feel that bad on Death Knight, interestingly enough. None of the corruption effects really affect you as a Blood Death Knight compared to the other tanks. Like the slow can't bring you below 70% ever, so you never really feel it there, even if it's a heavy slow. And Thing from Beyond or Eye of Corruption hitting you, especially if it's a physical damage heavy pack, you just have AMS all the time, or, you know, if you're going to use 2 death strikes in the next 5 seconds, the damage is severely muted from how much it could be. So, like,
yeah, I think DK is a little better for it. If they were a better tank in general, they'd probably be easily the
problem with DK still is that, like, when you start getting above 20, you start just dying to auto attacks in a way that doesn't work.
Yeah, one mob looks at you and you die.
Yeah, but everything else about the spec really good for this season. Okay, Tettles, how about you? How have you been since you settled back in now from the race ending?
Just been hanging out, honestly. Been sleeping significant amounts more. Waking up the crack of noon, as Dratnos calls it.
Oh yeah, that was a hard part of the race world first, was not getting my usual 14 hours of sleep per night.
Oh my god.
Well, welcome to the degenerate lifestyle, Dratnos.
Oh yeah.
Man, I got 8 hours of sleep last night, and I'm like feeling great because it's the first time all week. I hate you, Dratnos.
I was exaggerating, but yeah. I've also had a good few weeks. Got back from the race world first. It's been, I don't know, it's nice to be back. It's nice to be back home, but it was really cool to be there too. I was also on Wowhead Weekly this week, which is pretty cool. Tattles, I know you've been on that before.
Yeah, watch you on Wildwood Weekly. You did a really good job. I felt like you were very well spoken.
Thank you. And I think we have a clip from that later from you, Tettle, so we'll show that in a bit. But first, let's thank our most powerful patrons over at patreon.com/Titanforge, making the show possible every week. Thank you so much for enabling us to do this. Those are Ahar of US Proudmore, Paul of US Proudmore, King of Skills, VTech XD, Rock, Zuko, Ja, Uncle Please Invite, Khalifa D. Pog, Drunk Swede from Legion of Lemmings, Argent Dawn EU, Shirtless Tettles, Actually Tootsie, Heltari, Ishiu, Blue of Emerald Dream, Chromed, Seraphicus, Trekkie, The Marsh Hare, Regulus, Never Nude, and Grizzjam. Thanks so much.
Was that Mrs. Tuttles converted to Shirtless Tuttles?
I think so, yes. Yeah.
Unfortunately, it was.
Oh my god.
Tuttles is also the censorship board, so he decided it was allowed. He is the bureau.
There are some other names that have been requested previously that we're not going to read out. However, we're pretty loose. Memes like that are funny though.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so this week we're going to cover a couple of mini-ish topics. We have an interview with Ian Hazzikostas that has a lot of interesting information that we're going to talk about. We have changes to various dungeons and to the Awakened Affix, and we have information about the MDI. So those are kind of the three main things that we're going to attack this week. The first one will be the Ian Hazzikostas interview. Tell us, do you have the chance to watch this interview in its entirety?
Yes, I did. I made sure that I watched it in preparation for the show.
Not bad. How about you, Trell? Have you seen this interview too, or just clips from it?
Just clips from it.
Okay. It was pretty good. It was about a 45 minute thing. Sat down with Warcraft Radio and talked about a lot of different things, especially the Race to World first. That was kind of the focus. And it was not one of the interviews that sometimes developers have to give where they have agreed to do an interview, but they don't actually want to share anything, so they're just dodging the whole time. Here it was more that Ian clearly wanted to talk about this in a more open way. So let's start off by talking about his perspective on the Race to World first, because there's a lot of interesting stuff there. Tettles, he was talking about how the N'Zoth fight in particular was not especially buggy compared to history. It was just more visible than in the past. What was your take on that perspective?
I thought it was particularly interesting because people haven't gotten that direct feedback, and they haven't seen historically buggy fights. The fact that the Race to World first is displayed so broadly, it's kind of interesting to see that they were talking about how non-buggy this fight is, especially for something that doesn't get PTR tested, and just historically within boss encounters. I don't know what that was. Historically was within boss encounters.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I'm inclined to agree with him. Okay, so there was one massive visible bug where the extra portal spawned at 25%, but aside from that, I feel like everything else was pretty good about that fight.
I also think that they were pretty quick. Hold on, I'll be back.
All right, Tuttles is gonna go investigate what the heck was going on there. Yeah, I mean, there was a little bit to be. A little bit would have been good for them to talk us about that 25% thing. Let us know that it had happened and that it was not intended, and then you don't have World First Raiders thinking that it's a bug when it doesn't happen on the next pull. That was, I think, good. Yeah, Thought Harvester was not a bug thing. That was just a mechanic that they retuned. They also retuned the Anguish cast if you didn't go into the chamber. So those were two retunings that they had to do. But if you look at historical fights, they've had to do so much more retuning on fights like Jaina and Ajara, Kil'jaeden. These were all fights that went through multiple rounds of fundamental retuning to get them to a killable state. And N'Zoth didn't really have that. N'Zoth was killable numerically and didn't need any changes on that front while also being tightly tuned at the same time. I think that was an impressive mark for them to hit on tuning on the fight. So,
I think overall the fight was actually very well done from that angle. I think the only angle that I would maybe recommend a different change is how they described the secret mythic phase versus what it actually ended up being. Because if they describe what it is, then nobody's expectations are that it's this grand old thing where you're going to have to fight Cho'Gall and stuff. It's expectations were unrealistic for what it was actually going to be.
Thematically, it was a letdown. I agree. Yeah, just the intermission feel of it. It was so easy compared to the rest of the fight, and nothing really happens in there. Like, you go down because you have to, and you come back, and you haven't actually accomplished anything towards killing N'Zoth. I think it would have been
one more tentacle boy.
Yeah, I think it would have been good just give N'Zoth 50% more health, and then when we finish that phase, just blast him for half his health with a cannon. And it's like it feels like we're doing something much more impactful than we actually did. And it would be the exact same, of course.
I think it's just about expectations.
The blast on Gahoon, right, where it took like chunks of his health away, and you got a bunch of free DPS time while healers were going ham. I think that was cool. That was a really cool effect. You got to that point, it felt good.
Yeah, so I think that thematically they missed a little bit on the mythic mode of this fight, especially because there was so much hype built up around it. And I think that that's a good thing. Like, I think it's good that hype gets built up around end bosses of expansions. I think just next time they need to find something a little bit more mythic and epic feeling than a slight detour to the Chamber of the Heart where you fight an unnamed ad and then return with nothing happening.
Okay, so I was actually watching on Wowhead Weekly Drat Nesting. I thought you said something that was super smart about how the cutscene ended up playing out and why you thought all the people were upset. Do you mind restating that for those who didn't have a chance to catch that?
Okay, so the cutscene was something that there was a lot of people were unhappy about this cutscene, right? Because like it looked badly rendered, and you'd see your character like walk towards N'Zoth and then start firing the beam. And my perspective is that if they want, so Ian was saying, okay, the reason we did this is because we wanted it to be your character, so we didn't want to do a pre-rendered cutscene here, which of course couldn't be your character if it's pre-rendered. And my perspective is if you're gonna want it to be our character, just don't give it to us in a cutscene at all. Like, you can actually they've done this in the past where elements of storyline happen while our character is like stunned, but we're still as our camera still, and we're still able to look around the world. And I think they could have done that again with N'Zoth. I think that would be what I would have done if I was in charge. Like, I would just have all the things that happened in that cutscene happen, but without actually making it a cutscene. And then, we can actually, our camera's behind our characters, we get lifted up into the air and blast it with the focusing iris, rank 5. And then, then it cuts to the pre-rendered cutscene of Nilotha falling apart.
I think that would actually have been a way better deal too. Plus, it gives you that feeling I think that they were going for of like you're in control of what's happening.
Yeah, I think that they've done it in the past as well. Like fights like the Lich King, there's parts there that could be a pre-rendered and a cinematic that aren't, right? Like, you get killed by the Lich King and then he RPs for a while. All of that happens as storyline stuff that doesn't matter what you do, but you're still there. Like, you're in your character, not in a cinematic.
Or maybe you have to hit like your heart at the very end of the fight. Like, it, even if you've already used it, it's depleted, it just highlights and you're able to use it. And once everybody who's still left alive uses their heart, then you like fly up into the air and like blast the boss. Like, it doesn't even have to be something that's like overly complicated.
Right. Yeah. Just give it, if you want it to feel like our character's doing stuff, make it so we do stuff and not just watch our character, uncontrollably looking kind of lame.
Uncontrollably do stuff?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That would have been way cooler if you got to see it while sitting there after killing the boss yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I at the end of the day, I don't, cutscenes are going to be skipped by by most super high-end raiders anyway, so it's not really. Yeah, I'm not somebody who the cutscene really matters to, but I did like Lich King. I think that going anything you can do to make your stuff feel like Lich King is a good thing. Okay, another thing he talked about was the global reset or the global launch idea. Tattles, can you break down kind of what Ian said on the idea of a worldwide release?
He said it's not happening, and and the basic reason for that is that he feels like it would be unfair to some group of people, like regardless of where you have that reset, whether it is the European guilds, the North American guilds, the Asian guilds, like having those resets at those local times be the best for them is normally the most important approach. It also seemed like Ian didn't really feel as if it mattered too much in terms like when that reset happened, just because of the advantage that the guilds gain is not necessarily the highest thing. Plus, if you really want to get down to its basics, other guilds have the option to make characters on North American realms if they really want to.
Right. I mean, there would be drawbacks for Method coming to North America, right? Like that there would be. They have like a large community of giving them BOEs and stuff on Europe that would be harder to find on North America, probably, right? But
Yeah,
I agree.
But
Like,
anyways,
if it were an advantage that were make or break, they could do it, right? There's nothing that stops them from playing on North American servers and Shadowlands, and I think that they should certainly consider that now that it looks like there is not going to be a worldwide release. Somebody in chat says the ping alone would be a disadvantage. I mean, Limit played with a ping that Limit played on North American servers from Europe in Eternal Palace, right? They decided that wasn't a disadvantage.
we've seen Method get a venue in Vegas before. I feel like that's not...
Yeah, Method could easily play from North America. Like they could fly their players out to North America. Those sorts of things aren't really like that. It's a problem for a lot of guilds. It would be a problem for guilds like Pieces.
I would say. Yeah, I would say the problem is definitely the recruiting and like the community that they've already built on European realms. But
yes,
probably not
getting European players, to who had like you basically have to start recruiting among players who have accounts in North America already. Although from time to time Blizzard lets people transfer from North American to European servers, right, and vice versa. It's possible that they'd let people do that for this as well.
Yeah, I mean, and with the global worldwide release, the thought was also thrown up about tournament realms, which have
that's definitely not going to happen
themselves. Yeah. Charles, do you want to talk about tournament realms for Race to World first at all? Have you thought about
Race
it
to World
much?
first? I think the gear would be sick. Having just like normalized gear and it'd be totally fair would be awesome. And that would also remove BOEs, but that would be a ton of work for Blizzard, I think. I mean, maybe not. They're already there.
I mean, I don't think it'd be much work for Blizzard, but you basically have turned then an RPG competition into not an RPG competition anymore.
Yeah, that's
all,
true.
all these elements of like deciding which characters to prepare and killing earlier bosses with worse classes so that you can get them the gear for the later bosses that you want them on. Decisions about whether or not to re-clear or extend. Like fundamentally, it would not be a race, a rating race anymore. It would be a different thing.
Yeah, it would remove the entire grind.
Exactly. It'd be 100% skill of rating as opposed to like preparation and like having a bunch of different people who could play a bunch of different classes and stuff like that.
Yeah, the moment I said that, I realized that I like removing the grind, but I don't think any of the Limit or Method guys would like removing the grind in the slightest. I think they like.
THD is a bit of an outlier. Yeah, I think a lot of World First Raiders would lobby for a tournament realm, but it's not.
But they would also just never play the game outside of.
Yeah, exactly. Like that.
World First, which is not okay.
I don't know. The Race World First being the pinnacle of what it's the natural progression from rating more and more and better from a lower level, and separating it onto tournament realms removes that in a big way. So I think that's not something that ever is really going to happen. I do think that a global reset would be a good idea. I think that it's worth it. Like Ian's perspective here was that like, okay, it might be good for the 60 people competing in the Race to World First, but it would be bad for the 10,000 other Mythic Raiders. But I think you have to look at it as like it would be good for the 60 people competing in the Race to World First and the million total viewers who are going to watch that. And I think that is a priority that they should consider more.
I don't think it would really affect anyone outside of the top 3 guilds either. It's like
if they
only
have
good
to have
for those
server
people.
maintenance, then that's a very big deal. If they have to have server maintenance, especially in like other regions prime time, that's a big deal.
Yeah, but
true. Like NA would miss 4 hours as an example, and EU wouldn't because they'd be asleep. Maybe if it were that time frame.
If it wouldn't matter for Method and Limit, right? Method and Limit will just adjust their sleep schedule to whatever fits the server maintenance best, right? That's not going to ever affect them if it's the same time worldwide. Method and Limit will just be awake at the same times worldwide. It's more the other guilds, like no matter what time you set your resets to, somewhere in the world it's 8 p.m. when your reset is, and that's it would be very, very weird to be in that part of the world and have the middle of your raid day cut in half by a reset or maintenance during your prime time. So like I understand that those are drawbacks, but I think that finding a way to have global timescale release for the Race to World First is an important thing, an important way to support a community event that could really grow in a big way. If one of the biggest complaints about it is the global release, or the lack of a global release, and all of the method and limit players will tell people that like it's not as big a deal as people are making it out to be. Like it's not it's not worth 16 hours at the end of the day.
Well,
like it's smaller than that.
The second reset's a big deal. The first reset's not a big deal.
Yes, if you kill it within the first couple days after a reset, like if you kill it in that range, it becomes very valuable again, and then it falls off again quickly after that too. But
agreed.
It's not catastrophic for the race happening, but it would be a big thing they could do to improve the race. It would be to find a way to create a worldwide global release. Now, given that they're not doing that, I think that Method should definitely consider coming to North American servers for Shadowlands. Like they have the option now. Now is the time for them to make that decision. And if they decide that it's not worth it, then clearly they are aware that they can do that if they want to. So they will have decided that the advantage was not worthwhile.
And for what it's worth, I actually think that Blizzard does a really good job of making the Race to World First kind of its own event, and they interact in terms of like hot fixes and bug fixes pretty quickly relative to what we've seen in the past. And then beyond that, they're kind of hands off and just kind of let it play its course.
Yeah. Which does kind of make sense. Like I think that the one thing that they could really do better in Race to World First communication is let us know when something was a bug. Just let us know that the 25% thing wasn't supposed to happen. As soon as they see it and start fixing the bug, let us know that it was a bug too.
Instead of did tell the limit players.
Not immediately. Like many hours later. Limit eventually they kept getting to that phase. They built the strategy around getting back to the gateway with all the ground open, with all their resources preserved, and then the boss pushed below 25% and nothing happened, and they all thought it was a bug. And then after 2 polls like that, they got an email that clarified, whereas Blizzard had been aware of and started fixing that bug 4 hours before that, which would be a very good thing.
Good thing to know, maybe. Yeah, it seemed like they did a good job communicating, other than just like that being late and maybe some other things here and there that wasn't clear until Blizzard said something via email, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I think in general, they've been doing a pretty good job of being able to facilitate their race while not getting like overly involved. And at the same time, like it doesn't need to be like this whole thing where it's like a Blizzard event. It's like it's very much a community run event. And I'm glad that it still feels like that.
Yeah, that's definitely a good part of it too. Okay, another thing they talked about was the corruption system. And we have some corruption nerfs that have come in. So let's talk about the timeline of this. First of all, on February 4th, on like the, on I think it was Tuesday during or Wednesday of the second week, we got this, we're giving everybody a heads up that we're going to be nerfing Echoing Void significantly, buffing Void Ritual by a small amount, and buffing Deadly Momentum so its buff doesn't fall off. And they're also considering reducing the damage done by Twilight Devastation and increasing the effectiveness of other corruption effects. So that was what we learned on February 4th, which was, let me check my calendar. That was the Tuesday. So that was the first day of the second reset. They let us know that was coming. Then the next day, on the Wednesday, they said, all right, soon we are going to nerf Echoing Void by 50%. We're going to make Deadly Momentum's buff time doubled. We're going to double the effectiveness of Void Ritual. And we're also going to do some small buffs to Surging Vitality and Avoidant. Then everybody was like, oh no, this is, this was right in the middle of a raid of, world first progression. Limit looked like they were closing in on a kill at this time too. And there was a lot of concern about this affecting the race. So then later, about 6 hours later, they were like, we've been reading your thoughts. We've decided on the corruption changes. We decided to hold them for regional restarts. Because, it makes sense to do it at the start of the week because of the impact they'll have on your gear selection. And we're also going to nerf Mythic N'Zoth at the next resets as well. Tettles, what's your thought process on this entire set of nerfs coming out and how it was handled?
Well, obviously it could be avoided if the corruption effects were just balanced to begin with. However, they probably needed to happen with just how oppressive like Echoing Void was. And then in relation to that, how bad some of the other corruption effects were and still are. I think corruption is actually The problem that I actually have with corruption isn't necessarily like the damage that they do. It's absolutely the acquisition process, like how you get the corruption pieces, and then in addition to that, it's how like you're able to budget or not able to budget because of the acquisition process. Like Trell was talking about earlier, the fact that he doesn't feel like he can go above 39 because the thing from Beyond just beats his ass. But if he had the absolute best corruption setup to be able to put him at 39 and actively make a choice to not go over that, then I feel like that's better.
Yeah, it would definitely feel better. I just don't have any options right now. I either run like 60 and do meaningful damage, or I run 30 and do hardly any.
Yeah, I think that the corruption system acquisition is definitely a problem. I do think these were a good set of changes to corruption. Like, I think that Echoing Void getting hit like this made sense, and Void Ritual was a good one to buff, although still looks sketchy.
It's okay.
And then is all just a good set of changes here, I think, to the corruption. I think it was really good that they decided to hold it until after the Race to World First was over, right? It was good. It was good for World First Raiders. It was also good for everybody else to just not have your Echoing Void turn off a day after you learned about it, right?
A day in the reset, especially if you have permanent options to cleanse your gear and like just be totally trolled the whole time. The fact that so I don't care about the Race to World First in this. This is like a completely different thing. This is not like a Race to World First problem. This is like an everybody problem. If you're only going to give people 24 hours for a balancing issue, whenever it involves permanent changes that you've already impacted with how corruption ends up functioning, because you can cleanse items permanently, and they were offering no restoration on that. The fact that they didn't originally give you a week was kind of like what's happening? Why is this even like this? But then the fact that they were like, okay, never mind. You're absolutely right. We should give it a week, at least to where you're able to hit that weekly reset. You're able to get more loot out of your boxes that automatically does corrupt. And you may not have the best option because the gear acquisition of corruption, like I said earlier, is not the best. However, you will at least have some more choice than you had if it gets slapped down middle of the week.
Yeah, I think that anytime they make a system like this that has one-way cleansing, it's really lame that like we just have to hold on to everything on the chance that buffs or nerfs will happen to corruption effects as well. That's so silly that like, you get that axe from Mott on the first week and you'd cleanse it because it was not anywhere close to competitive, and they buff it by like 5. They quintuple its damage or something, and you're sitting there like, why, dude? Why? Or Echoing Void, you cleanse your Void Ritual, your Deadly Momentum stuff, so you can wear your Echoing Voids, and then they completely change the rules on you.
I actually think that corruption as a system, if you have good corruption pieces, it makes your class feel super fucking sick. But if you have bad corruption pieces, I actually just do so little damage, it tilts me off this planet, bro.
Yeah, it's I don't know, it's so close to, there's so much potentially good gameplay that is just locked behind the acquisition problems, which is something you could describe Legion Legendaries that way, you could describe Azerite armor that way, and you could definitely describe corruption items this way, and it's a mistake they keep on making with these systems.
Okay, so you could be me and RNG 3 trinkets out of my PvP cache, none of which will give me corruption, even though that is an automatically corrupted piece that's guaranteed for me. And then I'm on 3 Mythic Plus caches that I've got since reset. You get just 3 bad corruption pieces, one of them being Glimpse, which I just instantly cleansed, and then 2 of the other ones I just don't wear. Or you could be Dratnos on your prop paladin, where you loot a 475 Getaku with tier 3 Twilight Dev and a socket the first week, and you're just like, there is no equality here. Like, I don't understand. The equity. Like,
that might be the best weapon in the entire video game on Dratnos' paladin.
Oh yeah,
yes.
For Ret.
Dratnos is big over here. Yeah. It's pretty easy. Why didn't you just do that, Tettles?
Not to say that Dratnos shouldn't have that weapon. However, the fact that Dratnos is able to get that weapon, and in the same system, I'm able to wear fucking just tattered ass gear is a shame. Like, due to no skill or no, like, I'm raiding Mythic on my fucking main, and I don't have good gear. Like, what?
Yeah, well, you should play the game more, Tettles. You shouldn't have cast that Race to World First. You should have just spent that time grinding gear.
I've actually done run insane amounts of dungeons, and dungeons have such a low drop chance.
That's true. Yeah, it sucks.
So fucking.
Dude, there's a Discord I'm in that I saw ping this morning. One of my friends has run 150 Mythic Plus dungeons and not seen a single corruption piece from his own. That is ridiculous. They need to up it. Like there needs to be more sources of corruption so people.
No,
can
I bet the
getting
reason.
the gear.
Okay, so I bet the thought process on this is personal loot. Nobody trades loot in raids, so personal loot is a good source of. You're going to probably reliably get one piece of corruption. Hold on, don't you make that face. I'm going to continue to go through this process. You're going to get one piece of corruption, maybe guaranteed from raid. You're going to get one piece of corruption out of your Mythic Plus box, guaranteed, and one piece of corruption out of your PvP cache, guaranteed. I bet that's the reason that your friend, like in Mythic Plus, drop chance for corruption is so low. And Dratnos is making that face because he knows it's correct.
No, man. It's a scary world we live in.
You know that's right.
I mean, I think they don't want people to feel incentivized to like hard farm Mythic Plus for corruption, right? Because certainly if corruption items dropped like candy from Mythic Plus, they always worry about putting us in a situation where everybody feels like they have to do 10 hours of Mob Souls every day, right?
I mean, bro.
I think you're right, but just hearing that is so ridiculous because that's basically saying we don't want people to play our video game.
Just make every single piece of honestly, just make every single piece of loot automatically corrupt to where you're able to make meaningful decisions and actually budget your corruption budget. Because there are so many like tiers of. Okay, there's 3 tiers of Twilight Devastation. There's 3 tiers of Expedient. There's 3 tiers of Echoing Void. To be able to like budget correctly, you would actually just need so many pieces of gear to be able to have something you actually want to wear. That's why I think that every single piece of gear should automatically corrupt. There's just so many rings of RNG.
Yeah, the BOEs are so stupid as well.
Or you just buy BOEs because you're just a freak. And honestly, I recently joined Galerix because I've been okay with my having only 350,000 gold. But now I've decided that I'm tired of having just dog shit gear and I'm just going to need to buy it all.
Fair enough.
I'm actually just holding my 3 million gold to buy a Twilight Devastation piece on my main. Like that's the only way I'm gonna get it. Honestly, it's the only reliable way.
All right.
Yeah, I'll just transfer my character and fucking yoink something off a different server and then transfer my character back.
Let's move on from the Ian interview now.
All right, yeah, we're heated.
We got out in the weeds.
We had a little bit of a heated moment there.
Circling back, I think the corruption system is good. I think there are some major flaws though.
Yeah, I think there are some strong positives to corruption that are way stronger than the positives for Titanforging, but the negatives are also way bigger too, and that's a big problem. Okay, let's talk about our tips of the week. Tip of the week is returning now. First time in a little while we've done one of these. My tip of the week is about horrific visions. So you know the vials that have random effects per run? Turns out that there is a place where you can find a guaranteed bad vial. In Orgrimmar, it's in a hut at the left at the start. It's next to a dead body. And in Stormwind, it's just straight ahead. And at the right at the start, it's also next to a dead body.
Oh,
it's
in the
next
corner?
to a note. It's not next to a dead body. It's next to like a note.
There's also a dead body next to each of them. Yeah, there's a note in the Stormwind one too. So whichever vial that is guaranteed to be the sanity draining one, which means that all of the other vials are safe. Now, also, there's a predetermined mapping of the vials. So if you learn that a certain vial is the bad vial, then you can also know for sure which vial will be the good vial. So here's the order. If the purple vial is bad, the black vial is good. If the black vial is bad, the green vial is good. If the green vial is bad, the red vial is good. If the red vial is bad, the blue vial is good. And if the blue vial is bad, the purple vial is good. And that's the sanity restoring vial, which is really worth going out of your way for. The other vials that are neither bad nor good give you temporary buffs that when they expire, a bad thing happens. So
I 100% need to use a weak ore for this. My brain is not that large. I think THT just linked one in chat.
Yeah, THT has linked a weak aura, which is pretty cool. I didn't know about this. I have a graphic that I've been using, which I've not opened. Let me see if I can go find it. And yeah, it's the move.
Meantime, Trell can give us his tip of the week.
Yeah, that's really good to know, though. I did not know that about the files. So mine is MDI season's coming up soon, and also the community tournament KSM, which stands for Keystone Masters, is going to be playing before the MDI. both those tournaments are going to be on the tournament realms that Blizz is bringing back. And this year the signups are completely free. I think all you have to do is just go to their whichever competition you want to do and sign up, and they put you on the tournament realm. Also, they've changed the rules, and lots of the states and provinces that could not compete previously can now compete. So Connecticut and I think Quebec as well are good. Arizona too, I'm sure. It said the whole United States.
Oh, okay. So basically the fact that you don't have to have an active World of Warcraft subscription to be able to get on the tournament realm, I think, is why that actually changed. Because previously you would have to qualify on live realms, and that would end up doing some weird stuff because of gambling laws, because it's not seen as everybody has equitable chance of winning. Because it's gated behind like an active subscription, stuff like that.
Right. So this is moved to a no purchase required model, which is letting them get into some extra states. That's very cool. Yeah, I can't wait to see these tournaments. And I hope that
I'm so glad that everybody's able to compete. It always kind of sucked to hear it's like, oh yeah, Shakib had to fucking move houses and stuff. Like,
yeah, to be able to play in this last MDI.
I think Awakened is also going to be just a sweet tournament affix. Like, it seems like the perfect affix for teams to come up with cool different strategies for, and blow everybody else's socks off.
We're gonna get to MDI information. We can give some predictions there, but I got some interesting predictions that are, I think, the opposite of Dratnos.
All right, fair enough. Let's
to wrap up mine though. I think even if you don't want to do MDI or KSM, you should sign up for the tournament realms. Not only is it good for the tournament as a whole, because there's more people on those realms practicing and cheering each other on, but you can also just simulate your character at maximum gear or try out a different spec without having to farm all your essences. You could get all your essences, all the gear in the world. We're probably going to get like 135 corruption as the max level cloak or something. It's
that?
No, I don't know that for sure.
Yeah, the assumption is it's going to be like a full. You'll have the ability to just do whatever you want, right? And where, I don't know. We'll speculate more about it later. Let me show you guys though. Here, I found the image of the Horrific Visions vial thing. So here it is. Here's how you can tell the bad potion, and then the arrow points to the good potion on this little image here. I linked it in chat as well. So this is the move for finding out which of those vials is the Sanity Restore one. And I guess that wraps up Trell and my tip of the weeks. Tettles, you have a clip of the week for us now.
Yeah, it comes from Wowhead Weekly, which included Dratnos, where Dratnos talks about cannibalism.
All right, let's watch this thing.
Before we go on, can anyone explain this Dratnos eats people thing?
I don't know. Somebody just at some point in the Limit Guild Discord, somebody was just like, they were talking about me for some reason. This was many months ago, and somebody's like, that dude definitely eats people, and they just all laughed. And then Zyro started, he changed his Details nickname to that. It took a little while for us to see him on any Details meters, but when eventually we did, because he got a really lucky pull.
Random savage shots.
Yeah. Okay, so that was the story of the Dratnos eats people meme.
All right, and so for those who don't know, Dratnos and I are running for presidency in 2024, and a major pillar of the Killian Tettleton platform is we are 100% opposed to cannibalism. 100% opposed.
Yeah, it's
reformed. Okay.
Yeah, it's a reform ticket. Absolutely. Yeah. All right. Let's move on then to our next main topic, which is Awakened and dungeon changes. So we have a huge set of changes. There've been like a change a day to various effects on Mythic Plus, and let's start off with Awakened, because this I think is the biggest, most impactful change they've made. So this came out 2 days ago. We have Mind Rend Tentacles, so these are the ads that are spawned on the blob, 25% damage reduction. Ravenous Flesh Fiend, so this is the ads that come with the Fear guy, 20% damage reduction on their bleed. The Fear guy itself, 40% less damage on the Fear, 2 seconds down from 3, and it casts much less often, so huge set of nerfs there to that mob. And then finally,
these are all really good changes.
Yeah, finally Spirit Breaker got a 20% nerf, and that was the set of changes to Awakened. Trell, what you thought this was a really good set of changes? Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, it probably seems like I'm most excited about the Spirit Breaker change, but I think the Fear Guy changes were really good. They honestly, I'd like to see them reduce the amount of targets from 3 to 2, so nobody ends up getting feared with good gameplay. But it's better than it was before, for sure.
Yeah, I think that increasing the duration of the longest one by a second or two would really help healers be able to double dispel if they're playing well. But I don't think that that's. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe we bring a warlock just to
imp dispel.
Make that
Or
one
Resto
mob
Shaman.
a little bit easier.
Or
What
a
is-
Mistweaver Monk.
Wait, what does
or
Resto
Shadow
Shaman do?
Priest. Tremor Totem.
Oh, Tremor. Okay, but you still take the damage on that.
The damage is not the most important part.
And the fear is still going to average like half a second, so.
Okay, so the fact that they actually nerfed that fear damage by 40% is so
Yeah, it's
nice
big.
Because
Yeah.
okay, if you got feared off in the wrong direction from your healer, the odds of you dying were substantially very high. But after this nerf, it's way low.
Yeah, this is a fantastic set of changes. You know, Awakened, we don't want it to be, and yeah, good point as well. Priest Master Spell, very good. So Shadow Priest, effective against that mob too. We don't want this to be like a free affix, right? We don't want these mobs to be easy, but by far the hardest part and most lethal parts of High Keys was just fighting these Awakened enemies in a couple spots. So it's nice to see them getting hit.
I think for me personally, the big deal about Awakened and how it should function is that it should be like a skill check of like where you're dropping the obelisk, how you're using the mini bosses to do your pathing, how are you actually able to use the Awakened affix to your best advantage. Whereas for a little bit there, it was definitely more of the, oh my god, I'm getting my ass beat by this fear, and my tank is getting his back broken by Breaker of Heroes. I bet that Spirit Breaker guy can actually get pulled with bosses now sometimes.
20% reduction on Spirit Breakers. I mean, I think that you're less likely to get one shot, but you're still taking 100% increased damage for 8 seconds.
Yeah, and that plus the Dark Fury he does, which just denies all the melee time to hit the boss by quite a bit. Is pretty.
Oh, the Dark Fury is actually pretty trash. Never mind, you're probably right.
I mean, it's maybe doable, especially if you have like balance druid for trees, and you have a tank that can take a hit or two, and you have some other way of like taunting it with immunity.
I actually think the Dark Fury is like pretty much out of the question, because I think the Spirit Breaker plus like the debuff that you get, it could be done on some bosses such as like, I don't know, Unbound Abomination that actually just doesn't do anything. But the Dark Fury is just like pretty much out of the question.
I don't actually think that that's impossible. I think it's a reasonable mob to fight with certain bosses where you don't get zoned too hard by the Dark Fury.
Sure.
Yeah, the problem is it's like, would you want to pull that over the caster or the blob with the last boss? Because those are both really good options.
Well,
I mean, yeah, in an MDI setting you could do all three maybe, but on live servers when you can only do one, maybe two at the most, would you ever do the tank one? I don't know, maybe.
Yeah. I think you might. Okay. All in all, this is a really good nerf though to the affix, and a really good nerf to certain dungeons in particular, right? Where dungeons where there are really tough, obelisk placements and stuff like that. Trell, do you have any thoughts about any like particular places where this is the most welcome? Any obelisks that were especially bad?
Yeah.
Or
So, I mean, a lot of these dungeons have great obelisks, like the King's Rest and the Temple and the Motherlode obelisks are really good because everyone's in a spot that you normally would want to skip or have a way to get back to the boss if someone dies, per se.
Mhm.
Those are super nice for this season. On the other hand, a Taldazar and Underrot obelisks are awful, in my opinion. Like, a bunch of them are in packs that you never want to pull. There's an obelisk in the middle of the ticks and Underrot. They're just like the worst count, and they're awful to pull.
I don't mind the Underrot ones. I think,
don't mind the Underrot ones.
I think the Taldazar. Yeah.
Okay, so with this most recent week, Awakened got nerfs, Toldagar got nerfs, Siege of Borealis got nerfs. I actually suspect a Taldazar is about to be the next one that's like the next dungeon that gets nerfs. If any more hotfix changes are going to come to dungeons, I'm pretty sure it's going to be a Taldazar, because that double honor guard pack with that obelisk in the corner is just not doable.
You're right. If they nerfed honor guards into the ground, I would be okay with the Tal. But having the middle pack patrol across one and having a double honor guard pack on one and a single honor guard on the other is like, I don't know about these.
Because part of the problem with the Atal one is like you're actually able to get the first middle obelisk if you have a man who is very swift off the opener and instantly activates the pillar. Beyond that, you have to basically just death run that obelisk, or have like a rogue vanish, like pull trash pack and vanish off, or whatever.
Yeah, Atal's kind of silly because there are just so many obelisks that you can make good with a clever strategy, but they are very hard to pull, honestly.
That is the only dungeon that I would say the obelisks are bad. Even the underrot, Trell doesn't like love the ones in the underrot. I don't hate that obelisk that's in the corner. That's like the one obelisk that's in the far left corner after Xantia is the only one that's like major question mark.
Doesn't that one alternate between the like the spider and what's the other one that it alternates with?
I think it's the spider and the fear guy.
Okay, so yeah, you don't really want to do the fear guy with the last boss, but the spider you can always just take into the boss anyway.
Yeah, but Atal'Dazar is pretty bad, and like Nerf said, the problems with the obelisk and Atal are not the placement; it's that the honor guard mobs are trash, and two of the pylons in Atal'Dazar are next to honor guard packs.
Right. It is definitely
one of them is out in the middle of the fucking map.
Well, yeah, and one of them is actually a double honor guard pack, which is not fair.
I think that's the only dungeon that actually gets worse with Awakened, whereas every other dungeon gets better. The one that's actually surprisingly good is the King's Rest ones that are right next to one another, and on like first glance you're like, that can't be good, and then you actually play it out, you're like, that's really not that bad, honestly.
Yeah, it's
I'll take
great.
this.
I like it.
Yeah, you put one halfway down the bridge, and then you bring the next one to the third boss. It works out really nicely.
It's the first time in PFA that you can actually skip the brute on the bridge like consistently. You don't have to worry about where his patrol is because you can just portal underneath them whenever you. It's great.
Okay, so we have another set of changes. We as Heddles alluded to, we have Toldagor nerfs. So Toldagor got looks like 20% ish on explosive burst. I guess 18% nerf to explosive burst and 23% nerf to upheaval. Two great abilities to nerf, I'd say.
Oh, dude. Okay, that upheaval one was a long time coming. There are some classes that actually just can't get out of the upheaval. Like Paladin. Like, what do you do if you don't have bubble up? You just die? Priest just doesn't have a way to be able to get out of it either. It's like, okay, well, and that ability would actually just like one-shot you from starting at like weird levels too. Like starting at like a 17 or 18 to be one-shotting you and just be like, well, this is not that great. And like, God forbid you ever have an overlap with like the sandstorm. All right, you're just dead.
Yeah, THC brings a good point. You know, bring a warlock again. You have the gateway to get people out, or a priest for life grip. Priest can save others, but not themselves from this ability.
Operation in a movie.
Operation Mechagon, the junkyard part, got a nerf to Slime Bolt as well. I think pretty fair here as well. That trash was not. I don't know. I didn't have a huge problem with it, but seems fine to me to nerf it too.
In Mechagon, they nerfed one of the kickable things.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
It's like the the brute nerfs, right, in King's Rest, where just like the biggest percentage nerf that we see is always to these avoidable mechanics.
The avoidable circle,
and it's just, we're just having trouble living against the unavoidable mechanics in high keys. But I guess that when you nerf the avoidable mechanics, it kind of brings it makes it a little bit easier for the groups that are less coordinated, right? Like, we haven't played in the groups that don't kick slime bolts, and we don't know how bad it is, right?
Okay, so I think my big suspicion on why Slime Bolt got nerfed is because it's on less than a melee kick, and groups that don't understand that you can actually just disrupt it with any, like, Typhoon, Gouge, Blind, Para, any of those abilities. Groups that just don't understand that you can interrupt it with just those and it doesn't recast are probably going to suffer, whereas groups that we were going to be running with just like, all right, yeah, you just, okay, we kick one, then we CC the next, then we kick the next, then we CC the next, and it just you're just kind of chilling.
Yeah, I think that's there are a lot of mobs like that as well, right? Like Lashers and Underrot too, where it's just you won't be able to melee kick them unless you put one CC into them. I don't know. I feel like the solution to that is maybe just don't make mobs like that, like just make them melee kickable. But I don't know.
Well, for sure, but they have to make new dungeons for that one to happen. They're not going to fix that, I don't think.
Yeah. You can melee kick Lashers. Yeah, if you stun them or something once on their second recast, then it'll work. Okay.
Lately they haven't been doing that, and I saw streams this week saying maybe they're fixed, but
interesting.
It could have been a fluke.
That's good. Yeah, I mean, it's always been a little random. Like sometimes you're able to just do it by yourself, right? So I don't know. Like sometimes they just decide to not cast for a while. Okay, another set of changes that we have here is Mechagon Workshop. So they fixed explosives in that dungeon, although there's been some dungeons where they've said they fixed explosives and they still feel a little bit mean. So I'm not sure that they've 100% worked out all the Mechagon explosive spawns.
Wait, I knew that they fixed Junkyard with the Gaba Mac explosives. What was wrong with Workshop?
There were some that could spawn like out of bounds.
Oh yeah, they did mention that they fixed the out of bounds explosive in the last boss, right?
Yeah.
Side note, on the third boss, what is it, Machinist Garden? I have found out a way that you can actually just stand outside, like, and not get hit by the
flame cannon.
Now.
Oh, the saw blades.
No, not the flame cannon. You have to dodge the flame cannon. However, you're able to sit there and just cast as a caster.
Really?
Cool.
Safe spots, huh?
Those are Moonkin secrets.
Okay. Do you have to Moonkin disengage back up onto it or something?
No, they're just Moonkin secrets because I found them.
Okay. Cool. We also have Siege of Borealis nerfs. Ashvane snipers shoot damage reduced by 20%. Yes, shoot. The ability that murders everybody from Ashvane snipers. Not ricochet, but shoot.
I was so confused with this nerf. Okay, so there are 3 different snipers. There's like the marksman, the powder shots, and
the
then
snipers.
those snipers. And they only nerf the snipers shoot, not the ricochet.
Hell, dude, I'm happy about this because you can stop ricochet and it doesn't recast, but shoot just kills the tank a lot of times and
fair enough.
Maybe this is why I don't have an issue with it because it just kills the tank and I'm not a tank.
We also have nerfs to the Alliance only trash, the Dockhound Packmasters.
That's not Alliance only,
isn't it?
No,
isn't it?
That's on the boat.
I thought that the Alliance also had to deal with this.
I don't think I've ever fought a Packmaster tunnel.
So Pac-Man. Well, just because you never fought it doesn't mean it's
like there's a horde skippable one, but there's Alliance ones that are just in that first area that you do have that are just in your way.
Oh, is it the one in the pack right after the first boss?
Yeah, it's the one in the pack to the right.
That's awful.
We never pull that pack, but Alliance has more of them.
I've never pulled that pack. However, Alliance does have to pull it. The fact that they're nerfing anything for Alliance Siege of Borealis is actually very welcome.
Yeah,
that dungeon is trap for them.
Yeah, yep. Definitely a good dungeon to nerf for Alliance. All right, so
I love the fact that we can just skip those. That's cool.
That is the set of changes to Awakened and Dungeons. That was our second topic. Let's motor on along to our third now, the third and final topic of this week's show, which is the MDI, the Mythic Dungeon International is what the I currently stands for. They announced a new season.
What do you think it changes to next year?
I don't know. Mythic Dungeon in the Shadowlands.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. MDIs.
And this is why Gratnus will never get asked to cast the MDI.
What do you mean? He just advertised Shadowlands for free.
Yeah, exactly. Come on, Tettles. Okay, so we have the rule set for this MDI. There's a big rules document for anybody who wants to see it. Let's see. You can paste this into chat. Yeah, here is the MDI rules for anybody who wants to read it. We're not going to read all of it here on screen, but we do have the Blizzard announcement of the plans being revealed for this. So we can kind of go bit by bit through here and talk about some of the changes that we see for MDI. The big change here is right at the top. World of Warcraft esports is moving to YouTube. Tettles, what's your take on this change?
I hope that it gets good viewership on YouTube. I don't know. I have nothing to really say about that. Like realistically, I wonder. I think it'll be interesting to see what the viewership is going to look like while on YouTube versus what it was on Twitch, because it's no surprise to anybody that Twitch is a significantly larger platform. However, if the MDI's viewer base is passionate enough and strong enough to where they watch it on YouTube, then that would be good. But I guess it's just a wait and see kind of thing, right?
Yeah, my biggest thing is the emotes. What are we gonna do without PogChamps and Keck W's on YouTube?
Aren't all of the Pepe emotes disabled in Blizzard's chat anyways, like Keck W?
Oh
wait, no, Keck W's not a Pepe one. Yeah.
The Pepe ones were, but the other ones were...
Okay, fair enough. I don't know. I think that it can work well if both YouTube and Blizzard, make sure that it works well and put some marketing money into it and develop the platform so that we have similar features to emotes and extensions and those sorts of things available for just average viewers. I think that would be really good. But
It'll. I don't know. YouTube is dumping a lot of money into unique content and unique streams that are on their platform. So I mean, maybe YouTube will be the way of the future.
Yeah, so I mean,
Sure, good.
YouTube like bought this, right? So they must have a plan that involves like they're trying to make a bid to compete with Twitch in this area, right? So if the other parts of that plan lead to YouTube getting bigger as a result too, then it could be good news for the MDI too, right?
Well, the fact that there are going to be no more Twitch clips feels bad, man.
Yeah. Twitch
You
clips.
can't clip YouTube streams.
Well, you can link to parts in the VOD. I mean, the YouTube player is very good. The fact that you can.
The YouTube player for live content, I'll be honest, I think it's better because the fact that you're able to rewind in real time and not have to go to like the video section, which is not exactly the easiest thing to navigate on Twitch, and it's fairly slow. On YouTube, it's just you're able to rewind in real time is nice for a lot of things, especially for live esports.
Clipping.
I actually watch the clipping thing is like
that's a nice feature, yeah.
Yeah, I actually watch a bunch of LCS. Like I watch it only on YouTube because I like to rewind stuff occasionally, or have to stand up and walk away, and I can just pause it.
All right, so that
can we be grateful it's not streamed on Facebook?
Yeah.
Yes, I think we can.
Regardless of how the YouTube thing works out, we'll kind of just have to see there. Let's move on to some of the other changes that we do know about. Europe and Asia division and the Americas are the two divisions now, so they've split. They've stopped doing East and West, and they moved to these two new divisions. So Europe and Asia is Europe, the Middle East, Africa, Korea, China, and Taiwan. Whereas Americas are Americas, that's North and South and Central, Australia, and New Zealand. Tettles, what's your take on these changes?
I think there will be some hot Central, as Ratna said, American teams. I actually think it's super nice to be able to see the
Central.
fact that NA and EU's Central. I think it's going to be interesting to see how NA and EU do once they are in fact separated now. I think that was a major complaint of like the player base, right, Trell? Is that NA players didn't feel like it was very fair that they had to compete against their counterparts.
There's just like 3 to 4 very solid European teams, and there were only 4 spots to go to BlizzCon from the West Division, right? And so, looking at that on paper, like four good EU teams plus 1, maybe 2 NA teams that are good. Why even try to compete if you're not even going to have a chance to get into BlizzCon as a new team? Like that is so difficult against those kinds of odds.
Are you worried that NA is not going to be able to field 8 competitive teams?
Yes, I'm definitely worried about that. I think there's three experienced MDI tanks in NA, and there are 8 slots.
Yeah, I think North America. I think the good news here is that if you're a North American like person who's been crowded out of the MDI before, like you've looked at the West Cups and you've just been like, there's no way I'm competing in this. Now you can. So if you're listening to this and you are a North American person who's reasonably good at Mythic Plus, especially if you are or know a tank, that is you should compete in this thing. Like you should go for it. There's probably some room now.
The prize pools are definitely going to be decent too.
Yeah,
not just like the winning the whole entire land, but like the cup prize pools. You do get some money for cup play. I don't know if it's like worth the time investment to be able to do MDI. I think MDI for a lot of people is more of a passion project. However, it is a little bit of something. And it'll be interesting to see, for me personally, I want to see how the Asian regions do.
The Oceanic as well, right? Like Oceanic in the Americas division, definitely are live to put some teams into the top 8 of that.
OCE for the longest time had 2 to 3 like world-class teams in their region, and this past MDI they just had the worst representation.
Yeah, so, there were some player eligibility issues, right? That last time that should be fixed now.
There may or may not have been a full guild ban on the guild, honestly, of Frostmourne.
Yeah, they were good players too. It's too bad they couldn't compete.
And in addition to that, Ego as a guild just died. I think that region as a whole is still struggling in the World of Warcraft space. I don't know what will happen.
It does suck that like bans take you out of commission for so long in MDI competitiveness, right?
Side note, I do think separating them out into NA and EU will be better for viewership as a whole across the whole entire thing.
Yes, because the East Cup, especially on Twitch, right? Like there were not too many Twitch viewers that were like following players in the East Cup teams in the same way that like almost everybody who follows this game somewhat seriously has favorite players on both European and American realms, right?
So East Cup, I think whenever we were doing East Cup broadcast, I think it averaged like over, it was like right at 15,000 views. Whenever we were doing West Cup broadcast, this is season 2, it averaged like right at 30.
So a lot more, yeah. I mean, it also was kind of weird times too, right? Like East Cups were like,
it was really bad times for Twitch, and I don't know about like how the Chinese streaming platforms ended up working out. I am stoked to see how some of the other regions, such as Taiwan, had Buff War Nerf Rogue. That team actually was sick. China had a couple of good teams too. It'll be interesting to see how they compete against EU. I think that there are some spots for these Chinese and Taiwanese teams to slot into like the 3 to 8 slot range. I don't think that they're going to be like world class. I don't know. They may have a world class team. It'll be interesting to see. OCE though, if nothing changes from last season, then OCE is going to be, I think, fairly lackluster. However, if their unbanned players decide that they're trying to game, then maybe we'll see something. It'll be interesting. I'm super stoked for this next season.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I hope we get Honestly back in action. That'd be good. They're really good players.
I think the level of competition is probably going to be higher with the regions divided this way too, versus like the East Cup outside of the top couple teams in it. The last few seasons have really the quality of play was fairly low, and I think that that's not going to be like I think that there will be at least 8 teams able to time the time trial keys in each region.
If there is no team that spends 45 minutes in a King's Rest, then I will consider this a success.
So here's the cup structure. It's the same that we are used to, followed by then the BFA finals. So this MDI season, the last one of BFA, we can infer from this. And yeah, there's 3 cups per region, and then they go on to this finals that has a $300,000 prize pool as well, right? Which is not bad for a midway through the year finals cup. That's
it just dawned on me. I guess BlizzCon this year is going to be Shadowlands MDI.
Yeah, I think. What have they said about that? There's moving forward, we're also going to consider all MDI seasons as standalone events with a LAN final to cap each event. So I think they might be separated now, like from other tournament tracks. But yeah, we'll have to see what the structure ends up being.
Yeah, the reason that they wrote that actually and changed that is because my team was heavily involved in this last MDI. We reformed the team for the second round of cups in 2019, and we didn't have any points going into that set of cups. And other teams already had points and kind of had an easy way into the BlizzCon tournament, whereas we started at 0 and couldn't quite make it, even though we got 4th in every cup and the top 4 teams made it.
I think it may actually have to due to other reasons. I think it's probably that they don't want to be on this BlizzCon patch structure, and PvE has to dodge a lot of different things, such as major patches, race to world firsts.
Well,
a whole entire expansion release. I don't know.
Trell is talking about the points not carrying forward from the summer to the fall split or whatever.
The LAN is unique to each season, right?
Right.
Yeah. But it wasn't last year. Like they had a LAN as like a midpoint in the season, and then they continued on with their points to the next.
It was a full year thing, which
yeah, there was like you got half points from the first season compared to the second, but it was still enough to mean that if you did fairly well in split 1, you kind of could box out all the other teams by just doing anything at all in season 2.
I actually think that'll be a good change moving forward, just having them be seasonal like that, just because it started to become too much. I think there became too many dungeons being ran week to week, and like 2 full seasons of MDI like back to back like that, I think hurt viewership somewhat.
Okay, another thing that we have going on in this MDI versus in previous ones is corruption and Awakened. So Tettles, let's start with Awakened. You had a different take than me on this. You thought that there may be all teams kind of. Well, what's your take on how Awakened will play off in an MDI setting?
Oh, I think it was corruption. I think you and I.
Oh, okay.
I don't think it was Awakened, right?
Let's start with Awakened real quick then. How do you think Awakened? Are you excited about Awakened as an MDI affix?
I think it'll be interesting. I assume there's probably going to be some like double unholy Death Knight, one singular outlaw rogue, mystery monk prot warrior thing for the whole entire tournament that I don't know if any teams will vary from. Maybe you'll end up seeing some shit like Vengeance Demon Hunter, but I think by and large, I think that comp is incredibly powerful for many reasons.
I'm gonna have to update my MDI emote. Have you seen this? You seen this thing?
Oh yeah, triple rogue.
Yeah, I need to change that real quick.
Balls.
Just need to move a couple of colors around in there.
Yeah, you just need 2 reds.
Yeah, 2 reds and a monk.
And a monk.
Yeah, I can do that.
But I think that. Do you guys think that comp is pretty straightforward, Trell?
I think so. Yeah, I think that's gonna be one of the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like the default.
You know, I've been playing with some rep paladins recently. Some of my friends are doing like 110k overall in dungeons and all that, and they look really good. But then at the end of the day for MDI, you realize that Unholy DK still scales exponentially, and that's going to be the play for most huge pulls.
Fury Warrior was insane too. I know some people said that there may be some Havoc Demon Hunter play, but I think you're more likely to play a Vengeance than a Havoc.
Yeah, Havoc's never really looked all that. Like, its kit works really well in live keys. I don't know about an MDI setting. Maybe.
I mean, getting the Unholy Death Knights, the magic debuff, is probably pretty sick.
5% more on top of Infinity isn't still Infinity.
Yeah, the problem with that is I think you lose more tank damage than you gain DPS damage from playing Vengeance versus Prod. And also, if it's a dungeon like Waycrest or Underout with big spell reflex, you lose a lot more than that. But for something like Toldagore, maybe would be the play to play Vengeance, because then you can group infinite amount of mobs with the cannons and blast them all in 1 pixel.
I mean, Misery 2 doesn't get broken by like cannon. Does Misery get broken by cannon damage? I know spotters don't get broken by cannon.
I think Misery does get broken, but you have chains and Misery and Silence. All those tools are so good for grouping.
Yeah,
in that area.
And Vengeance actually seems pretty good this tier, but like Trell said, it's going to be lower tank damage. So how much do you value utility? It
does scale really nicely with Twilight Devastation too. So that's the corruption thing we're talking about, right, Dettles?
Yeah, let's just RNG some damage from corruption though.
Like, I mean, it's not like over a 30-minute dungeon, right? Like you don't see huge differences in overall damage based on how good your procs are, right? Like you'll see a little bit, but over a 30-minute dungeon, you're gonna get similar numbers of Twilight Dev procs, right?
Sure.
Yeah, they would do a little bit more Twilight Dev, but is that consistent? I think Prot Warrior is still far and beyond the best tank for MD.
Yes, you're probably right.
So
I think we're all on the same point there.
Let's talk about the corruption effect here in the MDI setting. Trell, how do you think teams are going to use corruption, assuming that they can just kind of do whatever they want with it? What do you think the default's going to be there?
Like how much each player runs?
Yeah, and what are they? Is it going to be stacking Twilight Devastation, or is it going to be stat stuff? And
that's a good question. I think we're going to try a lot of different stuff, and I think everyone's going to be very open to random combinations at first. It also depends on the budget they give us. Like if they give max cloaks, then I think you have like 130 corruption resistance, and you can run several tier 3s of stuff. I don't know.
Not several tier 3s, right? Like we'll have an extra 50 corruption basically that we can run relative to live right now. So like one more item than people are running on live right now if you have a good set.
Yeah, and honestly, I think it'll depend on the dungeon too. Like maybe a freehold will be I say freehold, but then if you pull a larger freehold, you still want to single target the bosses as fast as possible because you pull everything with bosses. So maybe it's like just % gains for crit in that instance, and not Twilight Dev, where the trash doesn't need to die faster, but the boss does. It's really hard to say. Like each dungeon and pull pattern is quite.
Especially if you're playing like double unholy, right? Twilight Dev might be less necessary. I don't know. Right. Here's my perspective on you've seen like now on Twitter, as somebody mentions in chat. I was talking about requiring teams to play below a certain amount of corruption. I don't think this is actually necessary. I think that if you are playing above 40 corruption, it's not like the question is just you're going into one pull and you play 300 corruption and try and one-shot it before it one-shots you. Like you can't do that in a 20-minute long dungeon, right? Like you're going to die if you're playing more than 80 corruption or whatever, right? Like, and it gets very scary. Even that 40th point of corruption is a serious increase in lethality on many pulls.
I think Now's point on Twitter was whether teams should be allowed to try to go above 40 or 60, or whether they should just be limited below 40. And I think that's a good idea to limit everyone below 40 so that there's no more RNG on the polls that already exist. Like
I do not want to watch just some. Personally, I don't want to watch teams coin flipping whether or not they're.
You're not going to do that though. It's stupid. Like you're just allowed to coin. Okay, so you're saying that your team is going to be allowed to flip a coin as to whether or not you live or die, and my team doesn't have to flip a coin because I'm smart and playing under 40 corruption. Like, why does it matter? Why do we
No,
why do we care about people doing something stupid that's not going to help them?
Because every team is going to coin flip.
They're not going to. It's dumb. You're going to lose if you play like you're worse off for playing above 40 corruption, I bet.
All right. Well, as long as someone convinces my team to not run more than 60, it's okay. I'm good with that.
I bet that slow is actually just the worst possible thing. I think that slow is. I think the slow is the most oppressive part.
There's just so much. It's dangerous to go above 40. It's dangerous to go above 60. Like you're not just doing it for free. It's not like we need to stop these players from doing it by not allowing them to do it. Like they should be allowed to try it. And they should be allowed to maybe come up with a high corruption build and try and squeeze out 30 extra corruption for a lot more risk. And if they choose to do that and they feel like it's worthwhile, then they die because of it. That was the decision they made, right?
The more I think about it, the more I agree. Like, let's say you're an underdog team versus Method EU, and you're going into the match with less practice. You're like, all right, team, we're going to run 80 corruption and just pray. We'll get more damage out of it, but who knows? It may work.
Yeah, I mean, so the question is, the question from chat is, if I'm right, it doesn't matter. It does matter, though, because anytime you put these restrictions on players that are like, hey, you can't actually play you're not playing World of Warcraft anymore, you're playing a different game, right? You're playing patch 8.3, but without the corruption system, right? The corruption system. Anytime things follow different rules on the tournament realm versus live servers, that is a serious cost. It's a serious cost when you do that, and teams should be able to if we're just like, hey, on the live servers, sometimes I can choose to try and deal with a thing from beyond, and on tournament realm, I'm not allowed to do that. That's a serious cost, and I don't think that we should be just lightly choosing to do that to ourselves without knowing that it fixes a problem.
It depends on how much resistances they have, for me.
Yeah, so we think they'll have...
The dungeons are going to be ending in 10 minutes this season.
It depends on how high the keys are as well, right? Like those are all question marks still.
Well, even with how high the keys are, I don't think that the dungeons will last beyond 10 minutes, because the damage scales significantly quicker. Like the damage intake, especially for MDI size pulls, scales significantly quicker than
the health.
Yeah. So you were even seeing this last season with essences being added. You would just fucking blow up the fucking dungeon. Freehold was being done in 13 minutes and stuff like that. I think the problem of seeing these 10-minute dungeons, especially if they are running max level capes and are uncapped on corruption, I think that we're going to see the very short dungeons, which I don't know if that's the best thing for the health of how the MDI is structured.
I like short dungeons.
I mean, you're also on the we should make the MDI more like live keys, aren't you, Trell?
Oh yeah, sure.
So I don't know.
Yeah, I think that even if the dungeon is 13 minutes, those 13 minutes, everybody's in danger of dying the whole time, right? that's how 13-minute freehold works, right? Is that every pull is super dangerous. If you just add one thing from beyond 100%. To any of those pulls, connecting with the player at a bad time, if that thing from beyond triggers cascading disaster on that player as well, you're just going to die if that happens, right? Now,
I agree. Yeah, it's a huge risk.
If you choose to play 50 corruption and you can dodge your thing from beyond while executing that pull, you should get rewarded for that as well, right? That should be allowed. You should be able to play that extra corruption and get a thing from beyond, and actually, if you can deal with it, if you can live it, you should get paid off for that, right? And I think that's the promise of the corruption system, that would be a huge upside of it on live if it weren't so hard to get 15 more good corruption, basically, to get a real benefit from adding that thing from beyond to your kit.
Sure. It depends on how you're able to budget and whatnot.
But on Tournament Realm, you're able to budget it however you want, right? You can budget with just whatever. We assume it's just going to be whatever corruptions you want on your gear.
I legitimately just assumed it was only going to be pieces that show up on raid pieces.
Oh, I assume that you could just put whatever corruption on whatever items you want, but of course we don't know for sure.
They would add scrolls, like the current system is there to make a keystone at the vendor. You just buy a scroll that adds bolstering to the keystone, or you buy a scroll that adds 6% crit from all sources and gives you 15 corruption or whatever.
I mean, that also makes sense, but I assumed it was going to be something worse, but I don't know.
If it's just raid weapons, then you're going to only be able to play 0 corruption, right? Because you can only just wear 1 corrupted item then per character or 2. So I think they're not going to do that. I don't know. My perspective is they should let the corruption system play in the MDI, and if after the first cup something degenerate happens and it's clearly not good gameplay, then you can implement a rules change for the second cup. But I think that the first cup really should be like, we should let players give themselves a thing from beyond if they think they can handle it and see if they can. And I don't think it's clear that you're supposed to play like 400 corruption and just try and kill everything before it kills you. Like that, if you're playing 400 corruption, you're immune to healing, you're taking 200% increased damage, and one time you spawn an Eye of Corruption, it's an infinite size Eye of Corruption that will murder you in 2 hits. So it's not feasible. Like even in an MDI setting where you're killing pulls in 20 seconds, you're dead in less.
Yeah. No, I think it's definitely going to be less than 60. I hope it's reasonable to run over 40 in most cases, depending on the pulls. That would be fun gameplay. I'm just worried about the RNG. I hate the thing from beyond RNG where it spawns inside your model and instantly kills you. That frustrates me so much.
I haven't run into that too much. I think that like most of the time I've been playing things from beyond spawn fairly far away from me. Yeah, unless I'm like in a snap spot.
Have you ever done Drustagath?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I have that shit literally spawn in my character model every pull.
Huh. Okay, yeah, maybe it's just some areas where maybe there's places you can stand that will, like if you're standing in a corner or something, it'll maybe spawn right inside you. Yeah.
It absolutely spawns.
There's just there's a lot of places where the game thinks that there's no other way for it to spawn far away from you. Like as the tank on the last boss of Workshop, it 100% always spawns right in front of me or right to the side of me where it hits me instantly. Because there's no other place for it to spawn, apparently. It can't spawn behind you, I guess. But maybe I wish they would just change that and I'd feel a lot better about it. But if there's a way to make it always spawn a certain distance away, it'd be a lot better. Yeah,
I mean, it has like a 2-second period before it actually starts chasing you, right? That you can kind of run away even if it's right on top of you. Anyway, I think that corruption is a cool system that they should let the players, try and solve rather than just dictate what they're allowed to do with it.
As a viewer, though, how are you? I don't know. I guess it's not like really.
Yeah, I think it would be cool if they can find a way to like show the things from beyond on stream, like everybody's things from beyond. I think it would be a little weird to just see people dying.
Yeah.
On the other hand, that is how MDI pulls look anyways, right? Like if you don't know what's going on, you just are seeing people fall over and you're like, what happened? Oh, grease gun. Like, okay, well, grease gun versus thing from beyond, which of these is at least there's a debuff on you when you're getting chased by a thing from beyond, right?
And as you see on the screen, the DK has a thing from beyond on him. Oh, there's a second debuff. And now the Death Knight has died. I wonder what happened.
Yeah, I think it would be cool. It'd be cool if they could come up with a way to actually show us everybody's things from beyond on a spectator client.
You're not going to be able to see some effects of other like corruption too.
Eyes of corruption and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Twilight Dev. You can't see other people's Twilight Dev. In Plus right now.
Oh, then they could bring that back for the corruption for the like Tournament Realm spectator client or whatever. I think it would be I think good to see those maybe, or maybe a toned down graphic of them.
Did you say spectator client?
I don't know, spectator, whatever, however they spectate it. Anyways, I think that it'll be cool to see what happens. One place that we'll kind of get an early look at this is a community run tournament called Keystone Masters. So if you guys haven't heard of this, there's Keystone Masters is a community-run Mythic Plus tournament, and they have their Winter Spring Fling coming up soon. You can sign up here at this little forum if you're interested, and it's taking place between March 3rd and March 15th this year. Good that they put the year in here, so there was no confusion. And there's the full rules and everything, and it's like a no prizes, for the glory, but you can get access to the Tournament Realm and play in this fun community tournament for Mythic Plus.
I think you have to have access to the Tournament Realm prior.
Well, but you can get access to the Tournament Realm through this.
They have a sign-up sheet to get on.
Yeah.
They worked it out with Blizzard. Now they're available to put their tournament on TR so they can get people on themselves. Sounds like.
Ooh, is there even prizes?
Yeah, cool. There's the first prize is $200 in BattleNet balance, I think.
Cool.
Really good community tournament.
Yo, I need that for WoW tokens, bro.
We need to collect some BOEs. All right, awesome. Last time around there weren't any prizes except for the glory. It's nice to see that there's they're adding some BNet balance support to it too now. So, and wow, Raid Bots Premium too. That's
Dude,
valuable.
I actually really want the Raid Bots Premium. I'm going for it.
You don't have Raid Bots Premium?
No.
I can. Never mind.
Never mind. Trell, are you going to compete in this Keystone Masters?
Yeah, I think so. I think my team will make an appearance.
Very cool. So yeah, we'll be able to see some fairly high level competition in this event then, and that'll be fun to watch. So yeah, if anybody wants to get like a preview of the MDI Keystone Masters, follow their Twitter and you'll learn about when that's happening. Should be pretty fun. Let's close out the show with some questions and answers. This one's from Squishy, who says, at Trell, with so few tanks already in BFA, what are the fundamental problems with tanking, and how do they make it more fun and have more people that want to tank?
Oh man, that is a big issue that I am previously very frustrated about. So in BFA, tanking is really devolved into, you just feel like you have less control over your own health the higher your keys you go into, and it becomes a lot of like, I hope my rogues do good enough tricks here so that my demon hunter doesn't pull threat instantly on pull because I can't generate enough threat. I hope my healer does 100k HPS to me on Shadow Azul because there's nothing I can do to keep myself alive other than my normal buttons that barely reduces damage. And on top of that, like the RNG of whether you block or parry an attack or dodge an attack that does like 90% of your health and then all of a sudden doesn't do any damage because you got lucky and parried it, is very frustrating. Like you could have popped shield wall for that hit and it just got parried. It's like, that does not feel good. And the last thing is this patch, the corruption stuff makes the RNG feel really bad. Like if you play above 40 corruption in a high key right now, you do have a good chance of just randomly dying, which is why I want them to tune the thing from beyond really badly and the slow.
Yeah, I think that setting those things to a more like limited proc rate if you're constantly taking damage, like you shouldn't be seeing 5 times as many of those as a tank versus as a DPS.
Right.
Because it just makes the system play so differently for the different roles. Did we discuss how a team qualifies for the MDI Tournament Realm? I think you just sign up. I think that's just all you have to do.
Sign up as 5, and people have to be not banned for 6 months, post-ban and stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll post it in our Discord as soon as it comes out for MDI. I think the KSM signups are already open, starting today.
Here's the link for the Keystone Masters signups. Yeah. And the MDI one, the MDI signups aren't available, right? The rules are out, but not the signups.
Correct.
All right. Next question comes from @Misfire, who asks, now that Horrific Visions have been out for a while, what are your recommendations for maximizing mementos? Solo, group, and if so, what group comp? Essence choice, a mask tier list? I realize this would be quite spec specific, but what has worked best for you guys so far? Tettles, how's your experience been in Horrific Visions? Which of these things have worked best for you?
For me personally, I think that if I'm running with a rogue or a demon hunter as a balance druid, then that would be ideal. Beyond that, I've found more success in doing it solo than I have with a group.
Yeah, I think that solo is nice. I think the best play is a full group, like a full 5-person group of a tank, 0 to 1 healers, and 3 or 4 DPS, and you can just go in there and blast. In terms of sanity, or in terms of mask tier list, I think that the 50% less sanity one is really, 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 really hard, and then everything else is totally fine. All the other masks I think are pretty manageable, pretty close in difficulty. And I think that doing a 4-mask run is fairly easy this week, whereas a 5-mask run is very hard this week. Soon that will be something that you can do in with the next cloak.
Can do a 5-mask clear this week.
Yes,
yeah.
5 is
good one.
5 is doable this week, but it's very hard. Whereas 4 is so much easier.
I want to say I've only seen solo players do 5 masks already, right? Has it have any groups?
I saw more duos and like double DH, those sorts of groups working really nicely for it too.
I saw one solo demon hunter. I saw one solo hunter, and I saw one solo moon can do 5.
Yeah,
those are all I saw.
Essences protocol is something you should consider if you're not.
Purification protocol is wild.
Although DK as well, yeah.
As you move to higher level masks, you actually kind of want to go back towards single target, away from stuff like protocol, because the single target starts to be the real checks of the thing. And so I would recommend kind of switching off that. In terms of what's most efficient for maximizing mementos, play as many masks as you can do fairly safely and still loot all the chests. Looting the chests in the lost areas is a big source of memento income, So
I think for
is.
a lot of people, actually doing 4 mask runs and just looting a bunch of chests is way easier than doing 5 masks. And the difference between 4 to 5 masks is people won't put on them. Was it Mask of the Long Night?
yeah, the long night
That's
is
the
the
one
hard
that
one.
gives you 50%. Yeah, 50% reduced sanity. That's by far the hardest mask. So if you can avoid doing that at all costs, highly recommend.
Yeah. And then, yeah, is Visions the best way of farming 420s? No, you'll only get one 420 per week from a Vision. The way Visions work is there's a 470 for doing a 5 mask full clear, and you can get that once per week. There's a 465 for doing a 4 mask full clear, and you can get that once per week. And then basically every tier of rewards you can get once per week. And if you do content that you've already earned the reward for, you will get the highest reward that you haven't earned so far.
It's kind of weird
less
to
than
me
that
horrific visions don't auto corrupt loot.
Yeah, I feel like you've got a fairly high drop chance, though. I've gotten a lot of corrupted items out of horrific visions, but maybe I'm just a big lucky.
I haven't gotten a ton. Charles, have you gotten a bunch?
My Demon Hunter got a bunch of corruption, but it was all like tier 1 effects. And then all my other characters have gotten like very, very little. I don't know. It's really hit or miss. Just RNG.
All right, our next question comes from @SleeplessWow, who says, I've recently swapped off being a main healer to a new class DPS raid leader. What is the one piece of advice you all could give me to not be a nightmare raid leader? Less cutting edge and more ahead of the curve and casual progression. Trell, any nightmare raid leader traps to avoid?
I know of a guild that's like semi-casual but does splits, and they raid like 5 splits on the first boss on heroic week, and then they don't clear cutting edge for months. I think that is not okay. I think you should not make your raiders do that. So make sure you're realistic with your raid and their skill, and go for reasonable times, you know.
Yeah, I think I don't understand that. That's a bizarre
really
way.
Funny.
Yeah,
is that Pop Tart Corn Dog that's doing that?
No, it's not
Pop Tart Corn Dog is running our first day raid of the tier tomorrow, though. We're hopping in at 2 p.m.
Wait, what?
Oh yeah.
What? Are you really?
Oh yeah. We're just some friends getting together, doing a day raid for fun.
I'm sorry. Huh? You guys are actually day raiding tomorrow?
Just for fun,
No,
just for fun. We decided to do a day raid.
Who day raids 3 weeks into the tier, bro?
Bro, we all just got together and we were like, it would be a fun time to raid.
Bro, raiding is my life, bro.
Yeah, raiding is so fun.
Day raiding 3 weeks into the tier.
Nothing wrong with the yeah.
Imperative and Pop Tart Corn Dog are day raiding tomorrow. Omega lol.
Yeah, we're gonna rename to Pop-parative Corn Sean.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, that's a
now Team Sean hates the Titanforge podcast.
We're inspired by his guild. We started day raiding after them. What's wrong with that? Okay. Tettles, any advice from you for not being a nightmare raid leader?
I think just having the same guild expectations across the whole entire guild is probably one of the most important things. I think by and large you can get away with doing like a lot of different stuff, and just making sure that everybody is on the same page for what they want out of the guild. Successes, failures, what exactly is success defined by your guild? I think those are fairly important things as a raid leader and as somebody who leads a guild.
Just get feedback from your raiders. Like my guild Twitch Prime right now, we're extremely casual, and we only raid to the extent where we don't have to progress very much. And this tier, we've been ramping up a little bit. We're killing more mythic bosses each week, but we definitely got everybody's opinion on that before we decided to do that.
I mean,
like, we didn't just...
Twitch Prime is also day rating 3 weeks into the tier.
No, we're not. Stop it.
Wow, Twitch Prime. Shameless.
Twitch Prime raids 3 hours on Tuesday and 1 to 2 hours on Wednesday, basically.
All right, we have a question from Rylera, our last one of the show, who asks, what is up with Explosive? Can't be tab targeted to anymore? Tettles, have you run into this? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, what the hell?
You can't tab target explosives anymore for seemingly no reason.
You know how inconvenient that is on bosses, where it's just one target and you press tab to kill the orb like you've done for years and it doesn't work? Come on.
Yeah. It's so weird. I feel like it might be, I don't know. Like sometimes you can do it still, yeah.
If there's only 2 targets, you can tab to it still. Not if there's any more. I don't know why.
Yeah, it's bizarre. So
maybe it's just like the hitbox is really small for the tab now or something. Because it's true. Chat's saying it still works for some cases, and I think it does for me as well. But it seems very difficult for some.
I mean, before you would just like aim your camera at it, you press tab a couple times, and eventually you target the explosive. Now I actually just have to manually target every single one.
yeah, I find it works sometimes, but it's been less consistent than before.
Maybe it's a UI bug too. Maybe some people aren't affected at all. I don't know.
Oh yeah, maybe there's some add-on that's doing some weird stuff. Although that's a weird thing for an add-on to do weird stuff with.
Yeah.
All right, I think that about does it though for our show this week. Been a pretty good
I have
one.
a question.
Okay.
Did Twitch Prime actually raid on the weekend last week?
No, we did an alt run like some of us did.
Ooh, that's the road
It's
to the
a
dark
heroic.
side. That's how we
Alt
started.
Heroic.
That's how we started, and look at us now.
It
We're
does
day
not count
rating.
as rating, not day rating. No, we're not Pop Tart corn dog.
That's the path to the dark side is paved with these little sacrifices.
Optional heroic.
Optional heroic, yeah. That's optional alt heroic is how it all starts for anybody in chat. Yeah.
Optionally mandatory heroic.
Then you move on to Mythic BOE farm, and then you pull some bosses in your Mythic BOE farm, and before you know it, you're there.
Kill Wrathion on Mythic this
Yeah.
week. Okay, guys. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Next week, kill 3 bosses. Oh no.
If it makes you feel any better, Vision actually killed. Was it Carapace last night or Il'gynoth last night? So Sistara is an adamant he's an adamant opposer of the day raid. However, he showed up on an off night too. So
Nothing wrong with a little bit of overtime raiding between friends. As long as everybody wants to do it, that's fine. Just don't be that guild who says you never overtime raid and then overtime raids. That's not the move. But if everybody agrees, then there's nothing wrong with it.
At Gromtart Sean Dog.
All right. That is going to do it for our show, though. We'll be back next week with another episode of the Titanforge podcast. Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.